y'all. This is She Buys It with Whitney Nicely.
Yay! Welcome back to the She Buys It podcast. I am so excited to talk with Modesta today because Modesta has been doing deals and wholesales and fix and flips and buy and holds and the whole real estate stuff, all while working, being a mom, being a wife, and being a sane person in this crazy world that we live in. Yes. So Modesta is here with me, and I've got to brag on her because not only is she doing amazing things by herself, she's partnered with one of my very best friends in real estate investing, April Crosley, and I'm so excited to see what these women are able to accomplish together and what they still manage to do by themselves too, because I love women helping women and women working with women to promote everybody. I love all of that. So this is going to be an awesome interview. Modesta, if you want to say hello and tell us a little bit more about yourself, now's your time.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So like Whitney said, my name's Modesta. I reside in Pennsylvania. So last August, I actually left my full-time position, and I am now a full-time real estate investor. But as Whitney mentioned, and we were talking about this before, is, I am a full-time mom of 2 little girls and also a full-time wife. So, that's like, what, 3 jobs?
Yeah, so, at least 3 jobs right there.
3 jobs, yeah. So yeah, I've been investing for a little over, I would say 3, like real serious 3 years. And so I do wholesaling, some flipping, I do hold rentals, and I do some lending as well.
I love all of that. And I want to reiterate that you were working a full-time job, 9 to 5 in corporate America, wifing and momming and investing on the side for 3 years before you were able to say, I can do this full time. And I think that is beautiful. And congratulations also, because a lot of women, that's their goal, but they don't ever actually take the leap because it's scary to leave what we've been taught as regular, steady income and take this leap of faith out into real estate investing where you got to work it, girl.
Absolutely.
Congratulations though, because I think a lot of women say, I'm going to do this, but then somewhere along the way, they get distracted, they get comfortable, they get a raise, they get another week of vacation. And they're like, you know what? It's fine. I don't really need to leave.
Yeah, definitely. It's like walking into a closed door, and when you open it, it's completely dark. You have no idea what you're doing. You just have to trust yourself and trust God and just trust the environment, and just go for it.
And have some confidence in yourself that you can actually make it happen. I mean, you see April's out there, she's making it happen. I'm out here, I'm making it happen. There's probably hundreds of thousands of us, probably, I hope, doing this full time. And the more women that we can see making that leap, the more it's going to encourage the rest of us to come along. So congratulations. I'm super proud of you for that.
Thank you.
Let's talk about your first deal though. I'm obsessed with the first deal because I think it's the most magical deal. Tell us about how you found it, what you did, what you were planning on doing, and how it all worked together.
Okay. So my first real estate experience, I would say, was my husband and I were actually looking to buy our first house. And then during that time, the company that I worked for actually ended up firing like over 3,000 employees, I would say, salaried employees. And I remember like looking at my husband and saying, like, we need another form of income because this can happen to anyone,
Oh,
and so we basically just like changed tracks at that moment. I called my realtor and was like, hey, is there any way that we could look at multi-units versus houses? And I explained what was going on, and he said, yeah, that's fine. Let's look at that. And we ended up finding a multi-unit where we lived in one and rented the other.
So it was a duplex?
Yes, it was a duplex. Yep.
I love that. And if I could go back to college, if I could go back to my early 20s, I would buy duplexes, triplexes, and quadplexes. I wouldn't have ever even gotten started in houses. Now I'm grateful. I'm thankful that I got started in houses because now I've got 15 of them. And that helped me get into multis, but it is so smart just to get started in multis and live in one side and rent out the other.
Yep.
Perfect.
Do it. Yep. So that's how we started. Yep.
That is fantastic. And somebody calls that, house hacking? Is that what they call that? Awesome. I love it. Yep. I'm looking at a house right now and I'm already calculating, like, can I put the upstairs on Airbnb and let like a traveling nurse stay there? Like, how can I house hack a house? So there's always something you can do to make some more money here with some empty bedrooms. All right, so that was the first deal, and I guess it was pretty traditional, just regular financing and all that stuff.
Yep.
Tell us, have you done any creative financing?
Well, actually, the multi-unit that I have now, the other one, I have a 3-unit. It's actually seller finance. So the previous owner is holding a note for me. Yeah.
I love that. So how did that conversation go? Did your agent find that one for you, or were you mailing, or?
Yeah, we were mailing out, and she contacted me. It was actually my first mailing that I sent out to multis. Yeah, it was pretty interesting because you always hear like, oh, mailing's not working, or it takes like 7 to 8 rounds. And so that it was my first round. She replied back, and looking at the property itself, though, she had it on the market for a while, and I don't think it sold. Or she didn't get offers, and there was just a lot to it, like the inspection was coming up and things like that. So there were just a lot of benefits of us buying it the way we did, where she didn't have to deal with getting it up to codes, or dealing with an inspection or an appraiser and things like that. So it was just a win-win for everyone.
So tell me more about that, because I mean, is it okay to buy a property that's not up to code? How do you work around that, or how do you bring it up to code periodically, or tell me more about it?
Yeah, so we basically, that was like the one reason why we were able to get it, because we knew that it wasn't up to codes. Like when I walked through it, I saw that the roof needed to be replaced, and that the siding, there was just a lot going on. And once you buy the property here where I live, the city automatically sends you notes stating that the inspectors are coming out, but you can delay it. You can say, hey, I'm not ready yet. So I did it as many times as I could, which was 3 times. And then eventually, like during that time though, my husband and I were working a lot on the property. I mean, I kept apologizing to my tenants and saying, listen, I know I'm here every single day and I'm a pain in the butt, but I need this property to be up to codes, and so finally, like last week, we passed. I mean, he just kind of was like, great job. You guys did a fantastic job. It was a lot of work though. And buying seller financing, the money is coming out of your pocket. So we kind of had to do things as gradually as we could, in order to make it work. Yeah.
What do you mean the money's coming out of your pocket?
So typically when we buy properties, if we buy cash, we're taking all of the rehab things into account, so that when we lend or when we get money from a lender, we have all that money into account. So with seller financing, in this case, we weren't borrowing from anyone, right? So we just had to figure things out on our own. We took out a HELOC on our house, able to pay off, gradually. And then we were able to fix all the pretty big, roof and siding and things like that. Yeah.
I think it's amazing that you're over there every day working on this property.
Mm-hmm.
Your tenants know you're going to be there, and they've got to appreciate that you're improving the property.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm
sure I was annoying, but I'm sure that they appreciate that it looks amazing.
Tell me a little bit more about this seller though.
Mm-hmm.
Was she just neglectful, or was there something going on that she wasn't making the improvements, or tell me more about the seller?
She lived in the state, but I think she was like at least an hour to an hour and a half away. And I know that her job was very commanding. So I just think that it was just a distance, and she had the property for a long time, a really long time. And so I just think it got to the point where it was just a lot, the rehab costs and things like that. So yeah.
Once you have something for a long time, it doesn't have that new toy vibe to it anymore, where it's not fun to go play with it. In the beginning, it's okay to drive an hour or two on the weekends and do a little this and that. And then it becomes like this awful headache. And then you got to find somebody, and then you got to pay them. And then even if she's got it paid off free and clear, you've still got to pay people to go repair it. And you've got to balance the books on it. And if her job's really demanding, this could be, the last straw.
Absolutely. And then tenants, dealing with tenants that, it's a lot. I understand.
And, right at 3 units, that is not always enough where it cash flows to pay a property manager properly.
Yeah.
And you're definitely not going to have somebody on site.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I could see where she just kind of, let things go and then let things go, and then it's a year later and she can't sell it. And there are tons of sellers like that all across the country, and they need somebody with some energy and, you know, fairly close by, pretty local, so that they can stop by and tend to it every day.
Yep.
I think, you know, on Instagram and Facebook, we see everybody just winning just all the time, but we don't see people who are going and fixing problems every single day. So I think that is awesome.
Yeah.
You stuck to it and moved it along.
Yeah. I'm surprised that my husband's still around. He probably wanted to kick me but you know, we got through it. So that's all that matters.
It's okay.
Yeah.
A little project's pretty good for morale sometimes.
Yeah.
A little team bonding through the holidays.
Yeah.
How old are your girls? Do they help?
They're 2 and 3.
Oh, they don't help.
And so I would.
Oh my gosh! So you're balancing babies.
Yeah, they're babies. They are little babies. I would say they did help though. They help with. We give our tenants gifts for Christmas, and so they were able to help hand those out. But no, other than that, they have no idea. I mean, I tell them, I'm like, yeah, that's your building, but they have no idea what that is.
Yeah. No, they wouldn't.
Yeah.
Were there any lessons that you learned through that deal?
I think that I think that my biggest lesson was just the fact that we had to use our own money to fix things. We kind of, I don't know. I feel like I psych myself out when I overthink things, right? And so going into it, I was like, oh my God. I feel like any other person would have been like, I can't do this deal because I'm going to have to come up with this amount of money. How am I going to do that? And it's not going to work. And so I just, you know, my husband and I, we just took the leap and we were like, we're going to figure this out. And we did. And it worked out great, you know? So that was definitely my lesson, is just to kind of not psych myself out, just do it and just, you know, fix problems as they go.
I think that's awesome, because most of the time, if you take that leap and you keep working at it every single day, it comes out even better than you had expected.
Absolutely.
And when you're in it, it's really hard to see that. But when it's over, or if you can even just take a moment just to realize, even a week into the project or a month into the process, you see everything that has changed and everything that's happened. It makes me excited to take the next leap.
Absolutely.
And do it again, because it's going to work out. You don't have to know how everything's going to line up and where everything's going to go. You just got to keep going one at a time. And honest to goodness, when you're in the middle of some of those deals, it feels like it's just problem after problem after problem.
It's always like that.
But a lot of them fix themselves, or fixing one takes care of 5 other problems.
Yep.
And, you know, that's part of life. We're humans. Things break. We're dealing with houses. These are old buildings. They're not designed to stand and never have a little problem. You know, people used to tell me all the time, well, what if there's something wrong with the house? I'm like, well, we're looking at a 30-year-old house. I'm 35. There's problems with me. We look at a 70-year-old house or a 7-year-old body, there's going to be problems with
absolutely.
It. You know, don't pretend it's going to be perfect. I got a brand new house with problems. So you just got to know that they're going to be there, and to take them one at a time and not make a mountain out of that molehill.
Yeah, it's easy to do that. Yeah.
Well, tell me about some wholesaling. Tell me what you're doing with the wholesaling.
So, we wholesale about, I would say, on average, about 2 to 3 properties a month. And so we're focused on one county, but we're looking to kind of get into other counties as well. And yeah, I mean, I like wholesaling a lot. I actually like wholesaling more than flipping. It's just, you know, I did one flip, and it was great. I mean, I a lot of lessons learned, but it's just the process that is so long from beginning to end. Whereas wholesaling, it's like you get the property under contract, you find the buyer, and, you know, we can do things within a week, if that, you know, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, depending on the county. But it's just, I like the fast turnaround.
I can enjoy that from wholesaling. And a lot of times the payday is the same, whether it takes a week or 6 months. the actual payday is
Mhm.
the same.
Yep.
People will show flipping checks where they made 50 grand, but they actually spent 42.
Yeah.
So they made 8, and they
Yeah.
could have wholesaled it in the beginning and made 8.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I love wholesaling for that reason also. My end goal is passive income, or not really passive, but monthly mailbox money coming in. So I did a lot of flipping in 2015, and I decided that process was too long, and I didn't like it either. But wholesaling was a continual hustle, and so I said, can I do a little bit of all of this? And that's how I settled into lease options.
Yeah.
Because you get those big lumps, but you get that monthly money too. So it's good. So wholesaling, tell me about your favorite wholesale deal.
I would like to say that my favorite wholesale deal was probably one that there were no issues. Like, we talked about problems, and I tell everyone there's always, like, you would expect everything to be like a straight line, and it's never a straight line. It is literally like this. And I think that the one wholesale deal we had, it was like, I remember calling April and just saying, like, is this for real? Like, are we really going to close tomorrow on this property? Because it just went so smooth. And even walking into the title company, I was like on my toes thinking that something was just gonna, flip. But no, everything ended up going really well. And so, and I would say, I mean, there's been a lot of, when you have that connection with the seller, and you understand what they're going through, and at the end, when we're at the title company and we're closing, and they give you a hug because they're so thankful for you, that, like, just makes everything so worthwhile. And I've had a few of those where, I can think back to the seller and remember their face and the way they cried and the way they were just so thankful that we were able to help. Those are always my favorites. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that, because the other day in First Build and Fast, one of the ladies posted a question, and it's a good question. Like, why would a seller take my low offer instead of getting more money for their property? So how do you answer that? Why would a seller take less than they could get if they listed it, or if they kept it? Or why will a seller take a wholesale price from you and be happy and hug you and cry at closing?
Yeah, I would definitely say that I think they're asking the wrong question, right? What was the problem that you were trying to fix? What was the problem? And so I think when we think that way, when we think like, well, why are they, I think that's just like a negative. That's just like something in you trying to convince you that what you're doing is wrong. And you're looking at it in a way that you shouldn't be looking at it. It's more of, let's flip the script and say, okay, well, what am I doing here? How am I trying to help this seller? And that is when it all makes sense.
I think I had another lady in my mastermind who asked a similar question the other day. And then later on in the conversation, she was talking about, oh no, I don't want those dinky little houses. And I thought, let's not judge a book by its cover, and let's not judge a house by whatever situation the seller has to be in right now. That's why I asked about your triplex seller. Like, what was going on with her? Was she just straight up neglectful, or did she have life going on? And she had a life going on. And I want to really encourage everybody not to be judgy, because when you're judgy, you're definitely not getting any deals done.
No.
I need you to be open and willing to help people with problems, because when you're out there looking for people with problems that you can help in this way, then you just tell everybody else no, and people go, oh, I can't tell them no, I have to help everybody.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Do you want to try to help everybody, or do you want to actually help 2 to 3 people a month? That's an awesome deal. So that would be a good deal. I love to talk about the good, bad, and ugly. Tell me about an ugly deal.
Man, an ugly deal. I would think that my flip, I would consider an ugly deal, just because I didn't make as much money as I expected or anticipated. And that was more of just like a newbie newbie, I guess, issues that I had. And I didn't, I didn't estimate the rehab costs correctly, and I didn't estimate the closing costs correctly. And helping or assisting the sellers here where I live, there's a lot of assistance where you give like a certain percentage, and they lowered the price. And it was just this whole dilemma. At the end of the day, though, I was just so thankful for the experience, and that I was at least able to get some money in in our pockets. But definitely I would consider that to be one of like my ugliest deals, just because of all of that. Yeah.
So you didn't make as much as you were expecting. You mind telling me, what were you looking for?
Yeah, I think we were expecting to make around like 18,000, and we made like around 8.
Yep.
Which isn't bad.
No.
Isn't bad.
You made $8,000, and you probably can't count how many lessons you learned.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was, the lessons were amazing. I learned so much, and I was able to build so much relationships. It was the first time I used a lender, and he loved working with me. I mean, he asked me constantly, like, do you have a deal coming up? Because I want to, lend to you again, and blah, blah, blah. And so those lessons were definitely life-changing.
And on your good deal that we were talking about a minute ago, how much did you make on that one?
That good deal, I think we made 10,000 on that one. Yeah.
So again, though, you can have a really great deal and you can close it really fast and make 10, or you can have an ugly deal that drags on forever and still make 8.
Yep.
And people watch the TV shows though, and they say, no, I got to flip houses, and I got to do this, and I got to do that, and I'm going to make $45,000. And I'm like, yeah, but
yeah,
did you really?
Yeah, did you really? Exactly.
Did you?
Yeah.
Was it as much fun as it looked like on TV?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So we talked about fix and flip, and tell me about lending, because you are a lender, and I think that is super interesting, because a lot of people don't realize they could be a lender until they're, a multi-gajillionaire on, Wall Street and competing with those guys. How can somebody who is a mom and a wife and working a regular job be a private money lender?
Yeah, so I actually have 2 forms of, I guess, accounts, excuse me, where I lend. The first account is actually a HELOC that we took out one of our houses.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Just in case somebody's totally new, what is a HELOC?
It's a home equity line of credit.
And that means?
So basically it is, the bank will lend us, so this house is paid off completely. And so
house you live in? Or
it's actually someone that I'm related to,
okay.
That person's house, but I basically just deal with the whole financing of that. So we were able to get a HELOC. So it's basically the bank will lend us 80% of what the value of the house is. And so from that, we're able to lend. And right now that there's a loan out on that account.
So I started in houses, and when I would get option fees or assignment fees or wholesale fees, I would pay off the houses that I had. So I ended up with a house free and clear, and I did the exact same thing. I pulled a HELOC against a rental house that I had and used that money to get into apartments.
Nice. Okay.
So I creatively self-funded my apartments, but it's the same kind of principle. Yeah. And lots of people either have equity in their personal house. That's why I asked, is it your house? Or their mom has equity, or their sister has equity, or somebody's got a house paid off, or you've got a rental house paid off. Like the lady you bought your triplex from, she could pull a home equity line of credit on that and still have money coming in from the triplex, but also have money coming in because she loaned out the value, 80% of the value of the property. Like,
yeah,
yes, please.
So many opportunities. It's crazy when you find out like what real estate can do, right? Yeah.
There are thousands of ways to make money in real estate. And I became a private money lender just this year. April's been trying to tell me for like 4 or 5 years that I could be a lender. And I was like, no, I don't. I had all the excuses, right? And April and I even have a program together where we teach people how to do private money lending. And I was totally game for it until it became me being a lender. I'm game for borrowing other people's money. I'm game for fixing and flipping. But I swear it was like 3 years into it before she finally convinced me that I could be a lender. And I was like, after that, I did one loan, I did another loan, I've got a third loan out there. Like, it's just been like, duh, I have houses that I've paid off. Why not borrow against them? And yeah, I pay money to have the line with the bank, but I'm loaning it out for a lot more.
Yeah.
And I'm creating relationships with other people that need this kind of situation. It's totally amazing. And I say that because I've been in this for a while and I just figured out another way to make money. So you don't have to know all of it right up front at the beginning. You don't have to do it all in the beginning. I mean, you're 3 years in, right? Who knows what you'll be able to do in another 3 years, but you just got to keep going. And you got to have those relationships either with your family, your friends that have houses paid off. Another lady that is in the mastermind, she lives in Nashville, which is like stupid hot. But a lot of her friends make crazy good money and their houses are paid off. So she's got great relationships with people she goes to church with and everything. And she says, hey, I do these deals and I'm paying this much. And then she just leaves it. And they always come back and go, how can I get in on that?
Right, exactly.
Right? It's not that hard. You just got to be out there and let people know what you're doing and then leave it. They'll come back if they want to play. So anyway, so you've pulled a HELOC on a house and you're using that to lend money, which is brilliant. And you can either lend it to yourself or lend it to other people. Like I lent mine to myself so that I could buy my apartments, but now I'm lending it out to other people. So tell me more about that.
So that's currently on a short-term loan. The person that has the money, he basically used it to buy a rental and he's going to refinance out and then give the money back plus interest. And so that's that. And then I also have since I left my job in August, I have my account in a self-directed IRA. And
so you had like a retirement account from corporate America?
Yes.
Awesome. I never had one of those. So I think it's super cool that people have that money just in a little lump set aside for them.
So I'm going to start lending that as well. So I'm actually talking to someone now. And I think this one, I may be doing a longer term loan just because I'll be able to have that money just coming in and then eventually, they'll pay me the lump sum and then I can do it again. So there's tons of options.
There are tons of options. And a lot of ladies have those 401ks, but they don't know what to do with it. Somebody else has always just dealt with it. But switching it into that self-directed IRA and then having a little bit of control and a little bit of opinion on what it should be used for, whether it was short-term or long-term, that has to be such an empowering feeling.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of ladies just leave their money in a 401k because somebody else is dealing with it. Somebody else has got to take the headache of it and blah, 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 blah. And, kind of out of sight, out of mind, somebody else is taking care of me. Y'all listen, this is 2020 and there's not a knight in shining armor that's going to take care of you like you're going to take care of you.
Absolutely.
Get control of your finances, y'all.
Absolutely.
Get it together. It's time to be an adult. You're raising children out here. It's time to show them how to do this without waiting on somebody to save them.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%.
That's just not going to happen anymore, girls. And once you're in on the deals and you do a flip or you watch somebody do a flip, you probably have enough experience to decide if you want to work with somebody and loan them your money or not. And then how much you want to make on it. Or, worst case scenario, find somebody like Modesta in your area and say, hey, I know you know what's up. Help me spend my money. I really like for women to actually know that they're getting a good deal though, and be able to evaluate a deal.
Yeah, definitely find someone who's familiar with it and get their opinion.
And even if you're at the beginning now, just know that in 3 years, you could be doing full-time investing, but just do one deal at a time and know that it's going to work out just fine. Okay, so that's the lending, and we've got one on short-term, one on long-term, and we talked about the apartments and wholesaling, fix and flipping. What else you got that we need to let the ladies know about?
I don't know. I'm really big on partnering up with people, and I think that's where I've had my most success. not I think that is where I've had my most success. When I first started, I think I had like a couple deals that just fell through. And I remember thinking like, maybe this isn't for me. Like I was stressed and I was pregnant and huge. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like this isn't for me. And so finally I just like, there were a couple of people, investors here that were doing things, and they saw that I was just out there like hustling, like, and just doing it. And so they, the one guy actually asked me to partner up with him, and he basically supplied the funds to market. And then I was the one going out, putting properties under contract, finding buyers and things like that. And he would do that as well. But I've had the most success. And so a lot of people always come up to me and they'll say, well, how do you find someone? And I just get a lot of like emails and messages about, oh, I'm just struggling. And I always just go back to the same thing. You need to find people in your area that are killing it and just ask them like, what can I do to help? Even if you're not getting paid in the beginning, but just do it so that they can see that you're actually committed and that you're doing it, and things will fall into place.
I agree. And how do you handle all the marketing that goes along with wholesaling and fixing and flipping and maintaining those relationships and building new relationships? And what's the marketing side like?
So April and I kind of have it divided. She deals a lot with like the actually ordering of marketing and things like that. And so I deal with like the incoming calls and stuff. And it's just really day by day. Some days are crazy. Some days we're like texting each other like, wow, we just got like 20 calls. Like I'm going to handle it, so it's, and some days we get a few calls. So it's just handling it day by day. I mean, I don't, you know how it is, Whitney. It's like, today could be crazy, tomorrow can be light, and so it's just kind of programming your day so that you have time slots where you can handle, your marketing and your calling of sellers and stuff. Yeah.
It's the quiet days that freak me out.
Yeah. It always is.
Those are the worst days.
Yeah. Because it's coming. It's like, okay, it's quiet today, but I know tomorrow's going to be crazy.
It's like, I'm checking my phone, making sure the Verizon bill got paid. Like,
Yeah.
are you kidding me? Like, what is going on here? I didn't wake up to all these things happening.
Yeah.
It's a different balance, because it's not that you can just plug in from 9 to 5. You got to be ready to handle it when it comes. And even different months and different seasons are heavier than others. Even the heavy during a slow season isn't that bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as long as you're ready, you
It
can
is.
handle whatever gets thrown at you.
Absolutely. And I will admit, there are times where I give my daughter some popsicles so they can stay, in the living room, eat their popsicles while I go call sellers. It happens probably more than I should let it happen, but we have to do what we got to do.
I mean, you got to buy those popsicles, right?
Right.
I need 10 minutes.
Right.
How do you balance momming and wifing? And do you send the girls to any kind of daycare? Anybody help you do that so you can work a regular shift?
My 3-year-old, she goes to preschool, so she's there basically all day. And then my 2-year-old is at home. But if it's not my mother-in-law who watches her, my mother does. And so like right now I'm in my little office, but she's in the living room with my mom. And yeah, when they say it takes a village, they're not lying. I never really understood that until I actually had kids, and now it's like, it's a struggle some days. I'm not gonna lie. Some days I'm trying to do stuff and the girls just like, they just want to be on me, and I'm just like, girls, I need to finish this, and I'm just trying to, and they don't know what, they don't know. They just want mommy, so it's a struggle. But I've been mastering how to breathe and, just like calm down and just get them occupied a little bit doing something so I can finish things. So it's just taking it day by day.
I love that. And that's why we're doing all of these things, is so that we can have even just a spare moment to enjoy momming and living.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you got some help.
Thank you.
I'm glad you got that situated. There's a lady in First Load and Fast, and she says, she got into real estate so that she could be a full-time mom, but daycare is the best thing that ever happened to her.
would definitely agree. Yeah. Yeah.
She was like, this is not what I expected, but do I ever need this?
Absolutely.
Well, good. Well, I'm super proud of you. You're doing awesome things. I love seeing what you're doing on Facebook and keeping up with all the adventures that you and April are going on. And this is fantastic. Do you have any advice for the ladies that are just getting started or trying to get their first deal, or they're in the beginning of those first 3 years and they can't see the end of the tunnel? What kind of advice do you have for the ladies that are getting started?
Yeah, definitely. One, keep going. It's like we've talked about, during this conversation, is that things are never straight. The line is never like this. It's always going to be like this. Or days that, you're going to wish like things would just fall in your lap. It's not going to happen. You just have to keep going. Find the right resources, join groups, real estate groups, investing groups, women group, and just find people that are just killing it, and just, make yourself known. Like, who are you and what can you do? And even if you don't know what to do, you tell them. You just be honest with them and say, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know this is what I want to do. So if you can just teach me one thing, I'll do it. Even if you do it for free for a few weeks, just do it. And I'm telling you, everything, everything will align after that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very good advice. Keep going. I love that.
Keep going.
And if anybody wants to reach out and ask you any questions or anything, where should they get a hold of you, or how can we keep up with you?
Sure. So my Instagram name is actually REI_mom_of_2, mom of two. And then my Facebook is Modesta, last name Heredia.
Awesome. All right. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you all so much for listening and joining us on the She Buys It podcast. Don't forget to subscribe. Check us out. Find the Facebook group, She Buys It, How to Become a Real Estate Investor. And I have a free gift for everybody. Go to getyourfirstdeal.com and get started. Please just get started and then keep going.
Keep going.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.